Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, here we are. Yeah, it's interesting, Sherry. You mentioned your question was, how are we doing with all this, just being bored with the 3D stuff? And it is very much boredom. I mean, Tim and I have even talked about it. He's bored. I'm keeping myself busy with nature and family and, taking advantage of the travel. But yeah, the 3D is just not what it used to be for me, for sure. But what are you finding?
Yes, we have the kids starting school next week. It's like I'm getting that same end of summer feel, like it's a little chaotic, and I'm looking forward to the routine coming up, honestly, because you know me, I'm just like all over the place. So I'm kind of looking forward to a little bit of a routine and just something different, because we're going to be homeschooling now. So we'll see. And I'm going to incorporate some energy stuff in with that. Like we're going to do yoga. I'm going to do rate. What am I can't even think of the words right now. This full moon has gotten me back like big time. It's like tonight it's happening. So I'm out of it today, yesterday. I'm going to do infuse them with Reiki. I can't even think of the words right now. Attune them with Reiki.
Oh, okay.
And meditation and everything. We're going to start doing that every morning when school starts. So it'll be like a combination of schoolwork and all energy stuff. So
That's a
I'm
good
excited about that.
Yeah, that's a really good idea from a protection and perspective too, with all the craziness. But yeah,
we've been meditating, but other than that, we haven't been doing anything regular, just like meditating and chilling. And they've been coming up with some major stuff, just the two of them, like just off the wall things. Like Mackenzie the other day said, there's 6 minutes, Mom. She's like, you got 6 minutes. And then if you don't take a breath in that time, then you're just done. She's like, you have 6 minutes though. And then I'm like, how do you know this? She said, I just know. I'm like, where do you come up with this? She's like, I just know it. She's like, there's 6 minutes. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, what are you talking? Where do you get this stuff? Like, she's like, yeah, 6 minutes, you have to take a breath. So
how old are your kids, Jenny?
Almost 12 and 6 are the ones at home, and then I have a 24-year-old that lives in her own place.
Okay. I've noticed I have a 3.5-year-old grandson, and I've noticed with Elliot that my sons of course are grown, 25, 28 and 31. But I've noticed with my grandson that he seems very plugged in to this elevated consciousness. And I think in many ways, once he started talking and being able to communicate, I felt it from that time. And I just see it increasing. And I wonder what your thoughts are, because I think my kids are kind of that bridge group of kids born in, but Elliot's crew and that age group seem to be coming in with more of that awakening already.
Oh, definitely. I have a 2-year-old grandson too, and when I would sing yogic mantra to him, he would look at me like he knew it exactly what I was saying when he was an infant. And my kids, they just know things. I don't know, they're just so wise. Even my 24-year-old, far and above, more mature and just with it spiritually than I was at her age. Completely just like the puzzle pieces are together or something that it weren't for me till like recently.
I would agree. I see in my 25-year-old, I have all 3 sons, but I see in my 25-year-old, he and I are able to have conversations that I don't necessarily have with the 28 or the 31-year-old. It's almost as if my youngest maybe was kind of that tail end of the one generation and the beginning of whatever we're calling indigo or whatever we're calling this one. But I noticed Madison, that's his name, is much more awake and aware. And I think back to when I was that age, there was no consciousness. Mm-hmm. It was all 3D matrix stuff. And at least in my life back then, I was all about getting married and having children and having a home and all the materialistic stuff.
Right.
And so to see him go through this and me remembering what it was like to be that age very much, and the difference, it's quite remarkable. And then with Elliot, my grandchild, it's just like a whole nother leap of where he is. It's almost as if, I don't know, maybe their DNA came in with that raised imprinting already that we
like upgraded. Some kind of upgrade. Yeah.
Yep.
And the programming was already starting to be dialed down. So if you think about back to the harmonic convergence forward and 2012 and forward, and when people were born into those different time frames, you know, the programming system was different than when we were too, I feel. So it maybe isn't as deep, and so their programming is easier to come off, or they don't even have it at all. I mean, we were talking the other day even about foods they eat. Like my granddaughter, she doesn't like sugars, she doesn't like candies, and she wants to eat vegetables and fruits, and she likes meats, but she doesn't eat a lot of garbage food, and in fact doesn't like it. And you know, so I think even the foods that they eat, my nephews were the same. They were different on how they chose, you know, their foods from a very young age. It wasn't like they were taught to eat certain things and not want other things. So I think that they do come in with different programming and under different energies, you know, and things are turning off now and have been turning off for some time. So everybody's making their way to it as they can release it within themselves, you know. So it's like you can see it in people all of a sudden they're interested in certain things like essential oils or certain food, certain meditation all of a sudden, you know, and it's like you don't really know where they got that interest, but it's kind of like something kicked in, you know, to say, hey, you know, this is interesting. And so to remember.
When you say things are turning off, what do you mean by that?
The system that we had, that the energetic system that was around the planet that was holding us all in this matrix is coming down. Now, I think that's been coming down for a few years now, but you can't just shut it off because everybody is one way. And then if you shut it completely off, then, I mean, it would put everybody in the hospital. You know, it's like your system isn't ready for it. It would be complete confusion. So I feel like things have been changing over the time. Chemtrails stopping, you know.
I noticed that. Interestingly, I noticed.
Yeah, and the 5D things. When we have beautiful clouds now that we weren't having, you know, just 3 years ago, you saw all these trails, and now they're beautiful, fluffy, white, you know, clouds that we used to have long years ago.
Our childhood clouds.
Yes, and blue skies. I mean, just crystal clear skies some days. And so the chemtrails have changed. We've got the 5G, I fully believe, has been changed to not be harmful. I think that's switched, which a few years ago, that was, you know, all the rage, and it was going to be harmful to our bodies and things like that. And I think it's been changed to be helpful for us. So you've got that going on. Then you've got food changes. I was noticing reading packages more and more as no antibiotics, no artificial preservatives, that are brand names that are now offering these things. So the transition of food even is kind of shifting a bit. And so I think all these things, not counting just all of our systems and structures, you know, in the 3D, like work is very different now. Healthcare is very different now. You know, it's just like all these things are shifting. So I think that the systems are now coming down, but like I said, it couldn't be like one day we were in the old system and, oh, tomorrow you're going to have all this, because we wouldn't have known what to do. It's like an addict. You know, if you take us off all of our addictions, you know, all at the same time, then, you know, you're going to shut the system down, shut the body down, you know, can't deal with it. So
I think it's also for some.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was saying, for some people, I think it still is like that. I don't get out very much. I'm like in my own little bubble a lot of times. But I had to get my oil change the other day, and I was out with regular people that I used to be around all the time.
Yep.
And I was looking at these people, and I'm like, they're still just like they used to be, you know, just like exactly like they used to be, doing the exact same things, just with masks on now. And just like eating the same foods. And it's really like where your awareness goes is what you're going to pay attention to, because I don't think about all the racist stuff going on. I don't think about anything going on except for what's in front of my face on a regular basis. You know, I wouldn't know if anything was affecting anybody because I don't have any clue about it. Like I just don't even, I have no awareness about it right now in my orbit. So I think it's really like where your energy goes is what you're going to get out of anything in this world. And there are some people still living in that old school 3D matrix. And they're happy to be there. You know, that's exactly where they want to stay.
And that's
I see the polarization it's almost as if we can be talking about the same topic with those that are in the 3D, still in 3D matrix, and they can jump on board with it, but they're coming at it from a completely different, like the opposite side than we would be.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that so interesting. The polarization seems to be getting bigger. And Gina, I have shared what you said to me on one of our calls with many people, that we're not having to die in our inside of this body that we chose. We're not having to die to shift. And
Mm-hmm.
I find that concept so phenomenally remarkable, because it's the truth. And I'm seeing those that, like you're saying, Jenny, that are willing to, or that are maybe not willing, that are remaining in that 3D paradigm. And we're all having to go out and be around them. And yet it's almost as if there's no resonance with them. It's to me, at least, it's almost as if I don't see them. And I don't mean that in a judgmental way.
No, I get it.
I don't see them anymore.
Because you're vibrating here, they're vibrating here. So it's like they're just not even in your vibration. I get it very much. It's like driving down the road, I know I'm never going to get a ticket no matter what. I never really go over the speed limit just because I'm always kind of spirit led anyway. But I'm not vibrating at that level to where I would ever get caught or even be seen by anyone who's going to catch me, because I'm always vibrating at just this positive level where I know I'm just like doing my thing.
Yeah.
I remember my kids being young, and we literally spent, I think, every waking moment out, right? Shopping and going to the mall and going to Target and all these little errand runnings that really didn't mean anything. And I remember about 10, 11 years ago, walking into a Target for the first time in a while. Of course, my boys were older at that point. And I remember it was almost like an anxiety attack. I don't know if it was the lights or the people or what it was, but I had to get out of there, and I haven't gone back in since. And I again, I think about like the businesses that have stayed open during this time, the Walmarts, the Targets, the Costco's, and they're all that vibration, right? So again, just interesting that I remember having it have that effect on me and thinking something changed.
Yes.
I can't do this anymore.
Right. And so part of me says, what came up, as you said, about seeing the people eat the food, but we don't know what's going on inside them and in their dream time. So they're not embodying it yet, but you don't know what's happening, thoughts and stuff, because, I know for me, I had awarenesses about certain things, but maybe my actions, until I embodied it, you maybe wouldn't have seen it from the outside looking in. So I think some are shifting, at least even in their psyche, and they're reacting to it with frustration or fear or anger, or, it gives them that tense feeling. And so it's nothing about me that's causing people to be tense, but they're tense inside with themselves, and maybe I represent, the tension that they're feeling. Is the only time that I feel animosity around, or somebody having animosity toward me, which is very rare anymore. But so I think there's stuff going on. There's the seen and the unseen. So even with those we appear to be locked in the 3D, there's a lot of transition going on, and there's decision points for them at some point. Do they decide to expand and evolve or not? And that's their experience that they choose. And I think for me, the biggest thing is allowing people. One of the big lessons for me that I've been learning is allow the people and love them for the choice that they're making, because we each choose what experience that we want to have here, and anybody has the perfect right to have the experience that they're having. And I love them for it. It's even if it's one of these protesters that are doing, that's the experience that they chose to do. I don't want that experience. I don't want it in my bubble, but if I look upon them, I'm going like, okay, that's the experience that they wanted. I don't want to play in it. But okay, that was their choice. They have as much freedom to do that as I have freedom to do, to live my experience. So yeah, it's an interesting time to be able to not have judgment, because everything is right up in our face, pushing all of our buttons around judgment, and any judgment that we have is still something inside of us, which is hard to grasp and understand when you see such tragedy, in some cases. But I think it's, Source loves us all and accepts us all and everything that we do. We have to do that for each other too, which has been a challenge to traverse. It's kind of my perspective anyway. I don't do it all the time. I still have my reactions. I'm like, oh, should I do that? I go, well, who am I to say they shouldn't be doing that? Because I mean, that's their choice and that's the experience they want to have. I don't want it, on a different.
Sometimes it's there to show us what we don't want so that we can choose to not have that person around us, or manifest what we do want by visualizing what we don't want.
Yeah.
It can directly show us what we do want.
Mm-hmm.
I feel very untouched by what I'm witnessing when I do, like you were saying, Jane, when I do go out shopping or grocery shopping or whatever it is I need to do when I do go out. I feel very untouched by it anymore. Whereas I would have said a few months ago, I felt very triggered by it. I felt triggered by the masks. I felt triggered by the acquiescence of what I was seeing in people, like this medical tyranny. I was triggered by the political polarization, and I'm finding more and more I'm less and less affected by it. I don't know how else to say it. I just, maybe that's where the boredom's coming in. I don't know. Maybe I'm using that word boredom, but really it's just that I don't feel connected with it anymore. And I've got quite a few friends who in the last few months, bought guns and felt that they needed to protect themselves. I still haven't. And I feel like I'm never going to need one because it's not coming my way. That's not the world I'm entering into where I would need that. Just the opposite.
Yeah. It's like a bubble that we create, and right now well, at least for me, my energy was in the disconnection from all of this that I didn't want, so you create that bubble and you're sitting in it and you're going like, oh, okay, nothing's going to come hurt me. Nothing's coming at me. I have this bubble and I walk with this bubble and this is the kind of experience that I have. Now it's learning how to transition into what do I create in my bubble that's interesting and exciting?
Mm-hmm.
Because the other things were interesting. They weren't pleasant and they were maybe not, we all participated in the design of them. We don't want to play that game anymore. Now it's been uncoupling ourselves from that game, but now we're sitting here going like, okay, we have a blank screen and
yes,
nothing's entering, and what am I going to do now? Because I'm the creator of that experience. So I think boredom is part of that, of figuring out, okay, I'm bored because nothing's pushing me anymore. So how do I move? And one of the things Tim and I've been talking about is where does motivation come from? Because our motivation in the past was out of response to something else or out of the programming. So if you're sitting in this and you're still and it's peaceful and it's quiet, how do you make it interesting with that?
For me,
I couldn't have said that any better.
Because I have no self-discipline whatsoever. So for me, it's like if I don't have to do something, I usually am not going to do it. So now I'm really taking that Joe Dispenza, training myself, teaching myself like a horse that needs to be broken. And training myself, like if I don't have, like getting on the treadmill, even though I don't want to, and I really don't have to, I have no reason to, but I want to, or I gonna want to, eventually. One of these days I'm gonna do it though, till I want to.
Yeah.
I find in this stillness, in this peace bubble that I guess I've now created, because I joke that I've probably been in quarantine now for about 2 years or so, when I left my job and I sold my home and I gypsied on out there into the world. Like I've really probably been practicing quarantine and isolation now for a couple of years. So this doesn't seem that much different. We just threw in this collective, really starting probably in March or April. That was the collective that was in this kind of panic mode. And I definitely climbed on board for a couple months. But Gina, I could not have put it any better. I mean, really, that's where I'm right now. As a matter of fact, at the age of 57, I had a dream a couple nights ago that I was very much pregnant and I could feel the baby moving inside of me. And to me, that was, when I woke up and it was a very lucid dream. And I thought, oh, I'm in this pregnancy pause. I mean, that's really what this is. And that's what it feels like to me. And, I don't know about you ladies, but I can remember the pregnancy part, like towards the end, you're just like bored, like, okay, I'm ready to have the baby and get this going. That's really how I feel right now, that I've created this peace bubble. I'm learning to, I really feel like very much I'm traversing the two worlds of 3D to 5D. right? Quite often, and sometimes a lot in one day. And I'm making these transitions very smoothly between them. And I'm not, I don't know. I'm not triggered. I'm not pushed. I'm not anything right now. I go out, I stick the mask on so I can go buy myself food. I play the game because that's what it feels like, right? I'll play the game. Governor, right now I'm in Nevada. So Governor Sisolak, I'll play your game. And I don't know. I'm just in this pregnant pause.
Yeah, it's kind of like the way I've been thinking about it when I go to the store or whatever is like if I'm playing make believe with my granddaughter, it's like okay, well I'll play make believe. I'm gonna wear the mask and I'm gonna have like I'm gonna follow along but not with the fear and the
Nope.
fear it. I just don't have the fear of it. And I'm not going to be cold to other people because of it. If they want to be cold to me, then that's their choice, but I don't have to absorb it and I'm not going to reflect it back to them. But I think that part of that, what's been happening for me over the last several weeks and months have been that bubble, anything that was left pushing on that bubble or me looking in the bubble and saying, okay, where is it still happening, and being able to like detach that and sew it up and mend it. Because I think you're right. I think many of us who've been on this journey, I'll say this spiritual growth, energetic light worker, way shower journey for a number of years, we've been kind of quarantining ourselves. I mean, I disconnected and changed gears 8 years ago drastically. And so we've been already doing that. So when it happened this time, I actually felt sheer joy in March and April for everybody having their own little bubble that they were having, and then look at themselves in the mirror, and myself too, because it felt to me like a final stage. It's like that last bit where you're starting, and now I'm starting to feel that kind of like getting ready, just like you said, birthing, have getting ready. And I was using that analogy the other day when Tim and I were talking. It was like, it's like a nesting thing.
Yep.
You're getting ready for it to come. And that's kind of where the transition is happening now for people. So.
Well, and I feel in many ways, this covering up and really this pulling within is almost very much like the stage of the butterfly. It's this cocooning that we've all, some of us jumped on board right years ago, and others are being forced to do it, but it's this cocooning. And I think it's up to me to decide how my chrysalis, how my butterfly is going to emerge, and what world is she emerging into. Because I think there are going to be people that emerge into not the same world that I do, and vice versa.
Yeah, because we're creating our own next level of game,
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying the moments of everything. I'm enjoying like the way my kids smell in a hug, you know what I mean? Like, and taking that time to just like be in that moment and understand that even though like things are coming, it's right now, it's a very creative time, astrologically, all that stuff. But to be like right now is is what it's all about, being in this moment with these people in this space exactly right now with you two, like right now, this is what it's all about, this moment right now, here, now.
Yeah.
That's it.
Very sacred moments, aren't they?
Yes, very much so. And life is a lot slower. I mean, if you think about those Target, Walmart's things that you were talking about, those were 24/7 in some cases, and they're not right now. So even that environment is lessened, so I mean, things are so much slower, just in general from where they were, a year ago. No.
Very much so. And I think I look back, especially I guess on my married days and the raising the kids days, and maybe that's just part of the normal transition of getting older and hopefully a little wiser. But I feel that the woman that I was even 10 years ago, I've died to her.
Yep. Yeah, I'm definitely not the same person at all. Definitely not. And happy for that. I can look back at her, love her, see her where she was, but I'm not that anymore. Yeah.
Do you ladies feel that what is coming in the months ahead that we all know is coming because of the year that we're in, do you feel that our president is surrounded obviously by a benevolence, but is it off-world benevolence as well as a lot the alliance here helping him? I've just started thinking about that recently. Like, what are these energies? Where are they coming from? And are they off-world, some of them?
Hmm. Yeah, so there, to me, I mean, it's the energies coming from the galactic center. It's those positive energies that are promoting those things that are in line with that intent of love, peace, healing, and the things that are against that are not going to work. So he's in that flow of that energy. And so the things that he's doing in that flow are going to have those, just like when we do things in that flow and in that alignment, we get the boost of that. But if we're doing things counter to that, we also are getting the push. It's not going to be successful. It's going to take a lot more effort, and we lose in a way. So I think part of that is that. But whether you believe in off-world, entities, planetary beings, those kind of things, I personally think that there's a whole flotilla, or whatever you want to call it, a whole host of beings that are assisting with this transition. And because of his position, he has that lead role right now, because that's a very important position in the world. I don't think he's perfect, but I think he's like us. He's flowing in that and following his soul contract and his role in carrying those things forward, in my opinion. But, yeah.
Without a crystal ball,
Maybe.
what's coming in November? If you follow the matrix breakdown of what's coming, it's not in favor of, I think, how all of us feel. Is it rhetoric? Is it the last vestiges of this malevolent force dying? Like, what is coming? And is, I mean, I felt 2020 was going to be a big year, but I don't think I would have thought this.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think a lot of what we're hearing is rhetoric, and a lot of when somebody's getting ready to lose, they're going to throw everything, at it. And I think it's that right now. I think it's going to be a landslide, no questions asked.
I think it's going to be really interesting, and I'm interested to just see how everything is after November. Honestly, that's what I'm looking forward
Me
to.
too.
Everything to see just where the energies are, what goes on with all of the stuff that's just so on fire out there now, to see how it calms down and all that. See what's really,
Yeah,
what
the virus will
flames
fade
are being
November.
fanned then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's already done. I think we've talked about this in the past on our channel. I think, and Tim, talks about this too, is the script is unveiling the story right now. That this battle was won many, many years ago. And so to walk us all through, to end the story in a way that as many of us can be there as possible, this is being unfolded. Because I just don't feel like it's at risk at all. I don't feel like there's any chance for it not being a beautiful thing on the other side of this in a very short order. I just don't feel that at all. There's no fear in it, no risk of it. Now, 5 years ago, that was very different, but I think that it's on a trajectory now. It's like we're just watching the last chapters unfold, in my feeling. But,
I like that.
yeah, I think it's already done. I think the things that we're seeing, the explosions that we're seeing, the stuff like that, is the last bits of them destroying and clearing out a lot of that old, dark, maybe a, negative force that was working against us. No judgment. I mean, it needed to be there for us to have the experience we had, but now we're done with that. So we're clearing it out. We're clearing out all of that code in the game. We're clearing out all of that furniture in the house. That's what all of this is about, so that we can have a clean slate.
All the glitches and the bugs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all being cleared away right now. And it's deletes, when you delete some of that, it has tentacles that, touches other things that then you go, oh, well, yeah, we deleted that, but oh, now it's created, oh, we didn't even realize that was attached to that piece. So we have a lot of that turmoil going on right now.
Yeah.
But
do you think there will ever be a time where we have the full story or some version of the full story, or will we be spared the full story?
I think it depends on, personally, I think it depends on the person as to what you want to know. Like some people won't even be interested. It's like, I just want to move on to the new, don't need to know the old
I
story.
think some of that's a little ego, wanting to just be justified in what we thought and what everybody else told us was wrong, So it's like some of that is a little bit of our ego,
What I'm finding is most people that want to get now, and it was even for me when I was digging, trying to find truth, what I call truth. When I was digging into it, it was to help convince me that this was the new way, so it's like, it was kind of like, I thought things were wrong, but I wanted proof that it was there, so then I could release it and not feel like I was crazy, that kind of thing. But at the further on you get with believing that it is happening and that there is another way, the less you need to know all those details of,
so perhaps exposure is overrated at this point, because I guess at the end of the day, if we all know that we're in this ascension process, does it matter all the underbelly stuff?
Because then to have an opinion, a feeling, anything about all that stuff causes a karmic reaction for you to be attached to it in some way. So really, to be protected from it protects us all, protects our souls in a way to be renewed without any of that stuff attaching to us.
Well, and I think it largely depends on what we were talking about earlier. If you go out and if you're at a different vibration level, you don't even see it. Well, it depends on where people are. If they're at the level where they're still in that frequency range that those signals are, they're going to see it. They're going to need to see it, or they're wanting to see it for some reason. So because they're keeping themselves in that frequency band, not better, worse, and high, low, whatever you want to say, but it's that in that frequency range. And if you're beyond that frequency range and you're operating and you're breathing different frequencies, why would you want to change your channel and go listen to it if you need it? If the purpose of it is to free you to go there, why go listen to it? The only reason I float back, and personally, the reason I float back and forth is service to others as much as anything else. Because if I can float and dip my head there and see and engage with those people that are finding out and helping to provide a bridge for them or some kind of a, positive energy in the situation till they can lift themselves out of that. That's the reason I would go back and forth, not because I need it to prove to me that, all of that was true or that, I don't really care. Did Oprah do something or did Tom Hanks do something or did, I don't really care about them. They're not important to me. The only reason I would go is those people who really love those people now have their earth shaken. And can I be in that environment to have that peaceful energy in that frequency range for them to be able to kind of feel that energy and alleviate whatever turmoil or whatever for themselves long enough that they can get a breath, so that's, if that makes sense, that's kind of the only reason why I keep my toe in that, so to speak, so that I can float back and forth.
Do you think what we've had as our entertainment, especially in this country, but I suppose the world in the past, the sports, the movies, the things that we've viewed as our entertainment and the people that we've put up on pedestals, do you think that is well, obviously it's changing, right? That's a given, but is it going to be the same kind of thing where those of us who are changing our vibration will no longer match with those kind of things anymore?
Yeah, there's a lot of music and movies and TV shows I have no interest in anymore. It's like, don't really, it'll be all the rave with somebody. I'm like, well, it doesn't even cross my path. Like I've heard names
Right.
of artists nowadays that are pop artists, something I have never heard of them,
Just
because
even having young girls, a lot of they have different celebrities they like now, and it's more reality based, like TikTok people or something, instead of old school type celebrities that used to be on TV. It's more people who are famous for doing something. I think it's kind of cooler because it's just people who are normal people who have gotten famous from doing something themselves instead of, how it used to be. So that's what they like now.
yeah,
But they're more individual.
yeah,
They just don't
not that
care.
not that all the talented artists and stuff like that are all in one lump either, because we've had
Mhm.
several now that have come out, and they're sharing their viewpoints and their perspectives, and they're starting to come out and do that. So I'm not saying that all,
Right.
were in that camp, um, but it was there, and it was in all facets of our
Mhm.
corporations and stuff like that. So um, yeah, I think you just don't pay attention to them. I mean, to me, there's no draw to me to watch that or whatever. Now there may be for other people, and that's the experience that they want to have, and that's okay. I'm not going to tell them they shouldn't or can't, or because I wouldn't want them to tell me I can't or shouldn't, or
I
whatever.
think anything you're attracted to, no matter what it is, your soul's attracted to it for a reason, whether you're awake or not awake. There's something in there that you need to see typically, or that is going to speak to you in some way, shape, or form. So,
Yeah.
I have to say, I find it fascinating those people that maybe over the years have been placed on that pedestal in the public eye, that are coming out in favor of either, whether it's the rioting or the virus or whatever it is, and to me it's such a revealing.
Hmm.
At least that's how I see it. Now and I think other people may be reading it, oh thank God they're coming out and they're speaking about Black Lives Matter or whatever it may be, but I find it so interesting, this revealing that's taking place, because it's almost as if it can't be any other way. And maybe that's what you meant, Gina, a while ago when you said that these things are going to fall away because they can't survive anymore.
Hmm.
That's how I feel right now. I feel like these things, and that's why I asked it, like the sports and the entertainment, it's almost as if they can't survive anymore with
Yeah.
the way that they did.
Yeah, it's like I mean, we have chemical reactions, in things like pools. So if you have a pool chemistry, algae can't survive. Algae can't live. They can't grow.
mhm.
So it's the same thing with frequencies. In a certain range of frequency, if the planet has a certain resonance, there's things that aren't going to grow,
Mm.
aren't going to foster. They can't survive in that frequency. So it either has to go somewhere else or
They have
change.
to scramble for relevance like they've
Yeah,
been doing.
I mean, it can't survive. Yeah. And which causes them to be noisier, trying to get the attention, but it works against them because then people even less want to be engaged with that, so it's like a cycle that in their effort to make themselves more pertinent are actually pushing people further away. So every act that they do is working against them if they're not in the resonance. If you are in the resonance of the environment, every act that you do can't be wrong. It's like it's your day every day, and anything you do yields benefit. So I think that's where we're in that time zone, and the frequency of the planet and the environment was much different. So those things that were at that resonance survived and thrived, and other things that were at a more loving, peaceful kind of resonance didn't, because the collective resonance was lower, the planetary resonance was lower, artificially or naturally, however it is. But now it's raising to a different level, and those things just can't make it. And I look at flowers. I mean, just the environment, plants growing differently. I mean, I have flowers that had never bloomed the entire time I lived there that all of a sudden bloomed this summer. So to me, it's like it's all these messages in nature as well as in what we're feeling. That's like things are changing, things are elevating to a different stage. And when we're seeing things die away or fighting for their life and gasping for their last breath.
The death rattles, I call them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Which isn't pleasant to watch. It's not pleasant to watch, but um, you know, it's happening.
Do you ladies think we're going to see and I really feel this being out west in the states that I traverse between, primarily California and Nevada, both very blue states. Do you think we're going to see a redistribution of people in this country?
Yeah,
I
we're
have no
already
idea.
kind of seeing it. What'd you say, Jenny?
I said I have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're already kind of seeing it. You look at what's happening like in New York and up in those areas, those people, I mean, they're trying their best to get people to go back to New York City. You know, the wealthy people, they've left, you know, they're all over the place. They've either come south or they've come west or, you know, so I think people are going to go where they're, you know, where it feels.
And in that frequency.
Yeah. Yeah,
A
exactly.
lot of people are starting to travel. I've noticed that. Like a lot of people are starting to just up their families and then take them on the road. That's more prevalent.
Yeah. And I mean, to be honest, I mean, if you think about the quarantining and the virtual environment, it's created the situation where it's freed people up to do just that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was talking to some of my students and they actually have, uh, because it's virtual learning, they can go out west for 2 weeks and live for 2 weeks here or a week and a half there, or, you know, and try out different places because they can do all their stuff online.
Yeah.
You've got people who used to work in an office in, you know, the city and we're paying exorbitant rents and whatever. And they go, hey, you know, I can let this apartment go and I can go live somewhere in the middle of nowhere that has good internet service and I can have a different lifestyle and save more money. And, you know, so it's created this possibility and kind of freeing us up. That's why I think it's all part of a plan, because it's freeing us up to kind of shuffle and move a little bit and say, okay, well, you can't use that as an excuse for holding you there anymore. You know, go try things. And I really hope, I mean, the ones that are thriving right now that I've talked to are the ones that are seeing it as an opportunity and not seeing it as you can see it as a prison cell where you're locked in your house, or you can see it as, that's freed me. You know, it's freed me to go do different things. And that again is going to be based on where your residence is.
Yeah.
If you're here and you feel like you're, you know, being attacked and you're in survival and you're going to feel like you're in a prison cell and you're going to feel like, you know, everybody's locking you down and you can't do these things, but I see it as a perfect opportunity. And I've been having conversations with family and others to say, okay, I hear all this bad stuff, but what's it been like for you since the quarantine? And, you know, it's been positive, pay raises, you know, flexibility of work schedule, you know, freedom to do that. It's like, actually, it's not been bad, you know, if you really want to stop and think about it. So
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of what we hear in the news and stuff like that is, again, like you were saying earlier, Sherry, it's just trying to keep us in that survival, fear, fight, you know, scenario where Jenny was talking about in her bubble. That's not what she sees, you know. And so it's whatever it is you want your reality to be, that's where you're going to find it. Yeah, I love you've been doing some lives, Jenny, and those have been really good because I think a lot of us a lot of internal stuff is surfacing for us to see, at least, you know, the last vestiges clear away. And I think those are good. I don't know if you want to talk about any of those, but I thought those topics have been very good.
Thank you. They just come to me and then I have to go live or I have to spit them out when they come. I'm just kind of letting spirit guide me a lot lately. I'm not really scheduled at all. I mean, school's coming, so I'm doing that, and you know, I'm going to have sort of a schedule for that. But other than that, I'm just kind of just going with it, enjoying life, laughing a lot.
That's good. Yeah. I think that's what we when we look at our bubble and we're bored or whatever, it's like we're not used to playing. You know, we're used to having to work and accomplish or solve a problem, you know, and when you have your bubble is like you don't have any problems to solve. There's no task list to do. It's like, what do you do with yourself, you know?
Right.
That is the truth. I think I tend to want to be that fixer by nature, and there's nothing to fix right now.
No.
It's all good.
Yeah.
I'm learning to be in a like tranced out meditative state when I'm awake. That's what I'm working on, is like how I can have, with one foot in the 5D, one in the 3D, and just continue to like float on by, like, and just stay meditative and allowing and flowing at the same time. It's been it works out pretty well.
I like that.
It works out for me when I can stay in that state.
Yeah.
When I'm too long in the 3D, like I've spent too much time in it, and too much focus on it, then I can feel myself start to wobble. And then I have to disconnect, go spend some time
Yes.
self rebalance, because it's like it's sticky. It sticks on you, and then right. I don't want that. So yeah.
Well, and I think when you think about it, that for us in our lifetime, the 3D is much more familiar than what this is at this point. So I think we're all learning these new ways of being in this world, this brave new world. At least that's how
I've gotten really good with loving people from a distance and not caring if they're failing, I love you, go through your shit. I don't feel about it. You know what I mean? But I love you over here.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of my family members that I would have a lot of pain or angst if they were going through stuff. And now I'm just like, love you, see you later. I have no feeling at all about it at all. Nothing. Not a bit. Very detached in a good way.
Because they're learning, in a way, you want to go, oh, it's going to look so awesome when you get on the other side of that. Yeah. They would not.
But even if you don't get on the other side, that's your journey, and whatever you do, it's whatever. But if you do make it to the other side, it's gonna be great. But if you don't, see you next time.
Have fun. Yeah, exactly. Well, and we became very good. I mean, if you look at my generation, I became very good problem solver. That's what I was praised for. That's what I was promoted for. That's what I got paid for. So boy,
my self-esteem used to lie.
Yes, very much so.
So when you don't have a problem to solve, it's kind of like being a mom and your kids leave home and you don't have kids to take care of. You don't have a problem to solve. What are you, And that's been a large part of this journey, is trying to figure out not creating a problem so that I can solve a problem. Because there aren't problems there in it. So if there's a problem in my bubble now, it's one I've created, so that I can experience solving it again.
Right.
And mine is, I want to get to the point where I want to create just to create and play, create to make, have me exercise my problem solving muscles. So, still learning. Yeah, still learning.
Any thoughts on on what we keep hearing about a financial reset? Nasara, Jasara, Trumpsara. We hear all these terms thrown around. Any ideas about the financial, I don't know, places we're headed as a world?
Yeah, I don't really know. I've not been really interested, to be honest, because I feel less attached to money. I almost feel like this whole transition has also made us see money differently. Because people are making choices now for jobs or other things, not just based on money, or they're choosing who they want to be, not just based on money. And then the whole CARES Act, of putting money out there for people. It was like all of a sudden we had this money to give people for, unemployment, and we had this money to give students through the college system for assistance, and all this stuff. And so it makes you go, money isn't what we thought it was. If it was so constrained, why is it all flowing now? So it's caused a jostling in, I think, our psyche around what money is. So I think it's already happening, whether you want to call it Jasara and Nasara. I think the whole money system and our attachment to it, and the value we put on it, and how we attach our value to how much money we can make and stuff like that, I think that's all shifting in process right now. Yeah.
Financial freedom is what I've been trying to vibrate at, and that's I've manifested myself into a place where I could kind of resonate on that frequency, even though in my life there's been issues with needing money in certain places. I personally have been in a place where I can feel financially free and vibrate on that frequency to try to attract it to myself. That's what I've been working on lately. But I don't really think about it globally or worry about anything much in that regard.
Yeah.
I hope it happens.
Anytime I
It'd be
have
good.
a bit concern or worry about money, it's always like future related. Like if I'm, and so I pull myself back to, well, how am I today? You know, do I have everything I need today? I have more than what I need today. Do I trust that what I need tomorrow will be there when I need it? Yeah, I do have trust that it'll be there. So if I can pull myself back into the, you know, to thinking of today and tomorrow and the trust that it'll be brought to me, when I need it, it's already happened for me.
Yep.
You know, in a way. So I think we could do it for ourselves in that process. But we were, again, trained and taught you need to have savings, you need to have a plan, you need to have a retirement plan, you need to be putting away, you know, stores. And even though the Bible, it says not to store things away where moth can destroy, you know, it was to really being focused on the daily stuff. You know, you get daily manna from heaven. When they tried to store the manna for the next day, it went bad. So it's kind of getting us back into that flow with the Creator and saying, you know, what I need is going to be there when I need it. And
I have zero plan for the future, zero safety net, zero any of that stuff. And all my needs are always met. And all of my upset reasoning in the past has been about not having security. So once I gave up my attachment to any of that, everything flows. I have everything I need in any given moment all the time. So I just don't worry about it at all.
Yeah.
Not a bit.
What do you think, Sherry? That's kind of our perspective on it.
I think that in the last, especially once I was no longer married, and that part of my life, that the financial part was definitely under his domain. So once I came out from under that, I had to learn a new relationship with abundance and resources. And what I've found for myself over the last, I guess, 10 to 12 years is that gratitude for what I do have and giving it away. And that might sound strange, but I find the more that I am in a generous flow with it, where I'm benefiting those around me. And I don't mean I'm enabling, because I've had to learn that difference too.
Yes.
I went through that period. Okay. But when it flows through me and out of me in this continuous cycle, I'm provided for. And I hear that often in the spirit realm, that I will always be provided for in that way. And I just feel like it's not mine. We attach I guess a meaning to it of some sort, right? But when it comes through me and goes out through me, there's just this constant flow. And so that's the place I find myself in these days with around money.
Like a conduit. So, you know, and feel like when you're connected to source or whatever you want to call it, you know what's meant for other people. So if you have something and you need to get, like crystals, I'm always like, here, this is for you, or books, or all the time, anything it is. Yeah, I love that.
I find, I don't know which one of you ladies said it, but like that non-attachment, I think you did, Jenny, like the non-attachment. And that's really been on my radar a lot especially during this year. I'm feeling less and less and less attached to really anything material. And I suppose in some ways, like you said, Jenny, even to people, because with family members or friends, and that pulling back and just letting them walk their path without me needing to be on it with them in the ways that I probably would have done, the ways that I did do before. I don't want to say probably, the ways that I did do before. But I find with the material, I'm the same way. I'm just always giving it, sharing it. Like I bought this little place this year, and I said, but it's not really my little place. It's like, it's a little place for whoever wants to come and find refuge, or stay for the night, or have me cook you a meal for the night. It's just gifted to me, and it's up to me then to share that gifting.
Yeah.
That's where I am with around money right now, or finances. I would love to see things shift, because I think on a vibrational level, if we can move into more of what you read, like about Nasara, I don't know that much about it, but what I've read about it, I think it is that higher vibrational financial system that we haven't had. I think we've been in an enslaved place, which made all of us collectively feel that over the past decade. So just from a collective consciousness, I think that I pray that that's the direction we're moving in, not so that I benefit, but that collectively everyone benefits, that we there's an equality to resources and abundance.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
A lot of people's relationship with money, with everything, would have to change. I think a lot of people wouldn't even know who they were anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be
I agree.
interesting.
Yeah, because a lot of people, rely on their money, their things, their material things to define who they are, set their standards,
Absolutely.
or they, the service to others is about writing a check. And I'm not saying giving money is not a good thing, but
Right.
you rely on that to be your, that's your service, then you're not giving of your heart always. Some people
Or if
do.
that's your measurement, if that's how you're measuring your life and who you are as a person.
Yeah, and our financial system, it's interesting because I just recently watched Hamilton, and Alexander Hamilton kind of set up a lot of our financial system. And when you think about it, it's a debt system. It's a debt system. So debt is a lower frequency vibration. Again, forgive our debts as we forgive others who die. You know what I mean? Those kind of things. So, I mean, the debt piece is what gives that energetic, in my opinion, about the financial system that we have. So if the process is to alleviate that piece of it and create a system where we have the flow going without that kind of debt being the base of our system, then I think that automatically raises the frequency of it differently. Because if people are, and some people I've seen where their debt has been alleviated. I mean, people that I know all of a sudden had a major debt that was gone.
Yep.
And so
I do that personally as well. And I find that just so fascinating, because when you think about debt is the same as enslavement to me. It's a form of slavery.
Oh, it is, definitely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's happening, and yeah, it's just happening in different people, different ways, and we'll see. But yeah, it's definitely a different frequency, because those people that have had that huge debt relieved, it's like you get this, oh, okay, I've got it, it's this breath of, I can make a way, so yeah, it gives them life, another breath again.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so.
Yeah, so very interesting times to be alive right now. I'm so thankful to be present. And the comment you said, Sherry, about the death cycle is one of my Tim and Jenny's videos, where Tim was talking about we don't have the comfort of the grave, and it's interesting to say it that way, because in most places when you make a major transition, you die, and then you get a restart in a different place, or where now we're transmuting, we're that butterfly in the cocoon and the caterpillar that's disintegrating, and then the butterfly that's forming before the cocoon opens up. And I always said, what does the caterpillar think the minute that it starts to disintegrate? And that's where, depending on where you are, you're somewhere in that cycle. And I feel like I've got my wings, they're starting to like get ready, and so that cocoon's about ready to come off. That's kind of the feeling I have. But
that's why it's so important to be here in the now, because you're never going to be this version of you ever again. This version in this moment, you're never going to be this person anymore. So it's like to make the most out of who you are here right now, with yourself. It's just so important, I feel.
Absolutely, because back to Sherry earlier, back yourself 10 years ago, you're not that person.
Right.
Had I realized at that point that I would never be that person again, would I have absorbed more of those moments?
Mm-hmm.
And like the last time that your child wants you to hold them, pick them up and hold them,
Yeah.
you realize that was the last time, you would absorb that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Jenny, what you're saying is that moment is right now. So absorbing it all, and spending those last bits that you want to absorb this is where we're at. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very much.
I like that.
Mhm.
Very, very, very much goes along with the yogic teachings, right? Of being present and being here now. And I, I, I look back on all the years that the kids were little and at home with me, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is never going to end. The craziness, the tired nights, the illnesses, all the things, that go along with being a parent. And yet it did end. And, now looking back, you think, my gosh, I wish I would have been far more present for all of it than I was. And if I can take away anything, I get to redo this, I guess, with my, my grandbaby, and be in a different place with him when I'm with Elliot, because of the, the hopefully the progression that we make.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm so grateful that my life was designed the way it was, to where I could always think about that. Because my oldest being 24 and my youngest being 6.
Yes.
Just to know, it's been lifetimes of kids. So it's just, I know how fast it goes. So I've been a big moment treasurer even before I started spiritually awakening. I remember my mom getting frustrated because we all lived with her. We were young adults, and her having to go to work or whatever, and her it being chaotic and her being frustrated. And I was like, but this is the only time we'll all be together, like how it is. And you should enjoy this. And she was like, oh my God, Jennifer, that. But I've always been a big, enjoy the moment person.
You should thank yourself. You and your high self charted
Mm-hmm.
a really cool journey for you this life.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were talking about material things a while ago, and it's interesting because mine's been focused on moments and activities and people and beings in my life the last couple months. I've lived out of a backpack, 2 backpacks. One backpack has my technology and my crystals and my cards, and the other backpack has clothes. And that's what I've had the whole over 2 months.
Wow.
And
Good for you. That's
like
good.
a nomad. I mean, just staying here a few nights, here a few nights, here a few nights, and the pandemic has afforded me that opportunity because I could still do my work from wherever I was, and Wi-Fi is pretty much wherever you go anymore. So yeah, it's been amazing, and it shows me what little I really need. I have my Jeep, and I have my 2 backpacks, and a cooler that I can put ice and water in, and I'm golden.
I love it. That's awesome.
Yes, it's been interesting, and to notice that I didn't miss any of the things, because otherwise in the past I would have packed everything in the kitchen sink to make it comfortable, and
Yep.
yeah, don't really need it. Don't need it. So we can live on very, very a lot less than what we think we can live on, and really spend the time instead of taking care of stuff. Spend time, in those moments, absorbing them. Very good. Well, this has been fun, ladies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very.
So hold on.
Thank you, ladies, for taking the time to do this.
Yeah, this was great.
Thank
We'll
you.
stop the recording, and so we'll tell everybody bye if we want to post that.
Signing off.